In March 2019 in Athens, Georgia, a man called 911 to report a burglary. Someone had broken into his home and taken money. A lot of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash. He was, by the accounts of the people who dealt with him, an unusually motivated victim. He called back. He pushed the case. He wanted his money found. There was just one problem with getting justice for that cash, and it wasn't the burglar. It was explaining where the cash came from. Because the man on that call was, at that moment, one of the richest thieves on the planet, sitting on 50,000 stolen Bitcoin from the internet's most infamous black market. 9 years of perfect silence. The FBI never found him. Hackers never found him. And then he picked up the phone and invited the police into his house. This is the story of Jimmy Zhong, the man who robbed Silk Road, hid $3 billion in a popcorn tin, and caught himself. To rob a bank, you have to get past the guards. In 2012, one very online young man in Georgia realized there was a bank with no guards at all, because the bank itself was a crime. Silk Road was the internet's black market. Drugs mostly paid in Bitcoin, run from behind an anonymity network. You've met its successor in this series. When Alphabet fell, its records burned a couple in Manhattan. Silk Road was the original, and in 2012 it held enormous customer deposits of Bitcoin, guarded by code its operators had written themselves. Jimmy Zhong was a computer science student around the University of Georgia, an early Bitcoin guy from the days when a coin cost less than lunch. Friends Per, later reporting, described the same person: generous, awkward, desperate to be liked. A kid who threw parties so people would come. In September 2012, per the Department of Justice, he found the flaw. He created about 9 accounts on Silk Road in ways designed to hide who he was. He deposited between 200 and 2,000 Bitcoin into them, and then he hit withdraw. Again and again, faster than the system could think. Over 140 transactions in rapid succession. Silk Road's payment processor, racing itself, honored all of them. Deposit 500 coins, withdraw 500, 5 times. In about a week, he walked away with roughly 50,000 Bitcoin, at 2012 prices, around $600,000. And here is what made it the cleanest theft in this series. The victim was a drug market. Silk Road could not call the police. There was no complaint, no case number, no victim statement, nothing. Just a hole in a criminal ledger that officially didn't exist. The perfect crime, minus one detail nobody could have predicted. The only person who could ever report it was him. What happens when you're 22 and you've just stolen 0.5% of all the Bitcoin in circulation? For a while, nothing. Bitcoin was a hobby. His stash was a curiosity worth less than a house. Then the world discovered his hobby. $12 a coin became 1,000. 1,000 became 20. By 2017, his stolen pile was worth over 200 million. By 2021, over 3 billion. And it was almost entirely unspendable. Regular viewers know this trap already. Every one of those coins was marked. Chain analysts had flagged the 2012 theft cluster years ago. The moment any real amount touched an exchange with a name attached, the trail would light up. Stolen Bitcoin isn't money. It's evidence with a price tag. So he lived in the gap between rich and inexplainably rich. Per court filings and reporting, the lake house, the Lamborghini, the boat. Football weekends done big, rounds for everyone, cash gifts to friends. A young man buying the thing he actually wanted, which was people around him. He even got one legitimate-ish windfall. When Bitcoin split in 2017, every holder of the original coin received a copy on the new chain, including him. The copies weren't flagged the way the originals were, and per investigators, he sold a pile of them for millions in clean enough cash. That was the cash in the house, the party fund, the 6 figures sitting in Athens, Georgia, the night somebody else had the same idea Jimmy Zhong once had. Rob someone who can't explain the money. Here's the strangest compliment self-custody will ever get. For 9 years, the most motivated searchers on Earth, federal agents, chain analysts, and every hacker who smelled the 2012 theft, could not touch Jimmy Zhong's Bitcoin because keys held offline on hardware you control are genuinely that safe. Self-custody didn't fail him. Nothing on-chain ever did. If you hold crypto, that half of the lesson is yours to keep. Your own keys offline in your hand. The link's in the description. The other half of the lesson, don't call the police on yourself, you can have for free. March 2019, somebody breaks into Zhong's home and takes hundreds of thousands of dollars of that party cash. And Jimmy Zhong, sitting on the largest unreported theft in Bitcoin's history, does the one thing a thief can never ever do. He calls 911 not once. Per police records and later reporting, he becomes the squeaky wheel of the Athens police blotter, calling, pushing, demanding progress on the case of his vanished, unexplainable fortune. Local officers start asking the natural questions. Who is this guy? What does he do? Why does an unemployed 30-something have that kind of cash in a safe at home? Nobody arrests him, but he is, for the first time in 7 years, interesting to law enforcement. A name, a face, an address attached to unexplained crypto wealth in a file. Meanwhile, the other thread had never stopped moving. Since 2012, the IRS's criminal investigators and chain analysis firms had kept the Silk Road theft cluster under watch. The same patient, unglamorous tracing you saw crack the Bitfinex case, hop by hop, mixer by mixer, year by year, waiting for one coin to touch one name. In 2021, it happened. A slice of the Silk Road coins moved through a cryptocurrency exchange into an account registered, per investigators, with Jimmy Zhong's own identity. The chain had a name. The name had a police file. The file had an address with a safe full of cash. On November 9th, 2021, federal agents drove to a house in Gainesville, Georgia, with a search warrant. The search read like a treasure hunt written by an accountant. In a floor safe under the tiles, stacks of cash, gold and silver bars, physical collector's bitcoins from the currency's early days, and in a bathroom closet in a popcorn tin, buried under blankets, a single-board computer. On it, 50,491 Bitcoin. All told, agents seized just over 50,600 Bitcoin, $3.36 billion. At that moment, the largest cryptocurrency seizure in the history of the Department of Justice. It would hold the record for about 3 months, until the Bitfinex case you already know beat it. A year later, Jimmy Zhong stood in a federal courtroom in Manhattan and pleaded guilty to 1 count of wire fraud for the 2012 scheme. And in April 2023, he was sentenced. 1 year and 1 day. Compare the ledger. Ross Ulbricht, who built Silk Road, was serving double life plus 40 years. Jimmy Zhong, who robbed it for what became $3 billion, got 366 days, a light sentence for a 9-year-old crime against a drug market committed by a cooperative defendant who handed over the keys. The U.S. Attorney's statement got the last word, and it's a keeper. "We won't stop following the money," he said, "no matter how expertly hidden, even to a circuit board in the bottom of a popcorn tin. Here's what stays with me. On-chain, Jimmy Zhong was flawless for 9 years. The theft took a week and left no witnesses. The keys never leaked. The coins never moved wrong until one slip at one exchange. Every system built to catch him failed. What caught him was the oldest system there is. He was lonely, he was robbed, and he wanted just once for it to be someone else's job to make it right. Tell me honestly, you're sitting on money you can't explain, and someone steals a chunk of it. Do you eat the loss and stay invisible? Or does some part of you pick up the phone like he did? I'm genuinely curious. Comments below. And the takeaway cuts both ways. 9 years proved that keys held offline can't be taken from you. The link for doing that properly is in the description. The part where you call the police on yourself, that one's on you. Next week, the man who stood on a stage every Friday telling a million savers that banks are not your friends, right up until the night he froze $4.7 billion of their money. Celsius, Alex Mashinsky. Subscribe so you don't miss it.